Good evening, everyone. My name is Alejandra. I'm going to go ahead and get started with my presentation here, so just bear with me. The topic that I chose was mental health and stress reduction from chapter 6. So the main topics here and as to why it is important is because students need to be emotionally healthy in order to concentrate, in order to learn. That way they could be successful in the classroom. Their self-esteem is very important, as well as positive behavior in the classroom, suicide prevention, factors behind some negative behavior. It is important to know what factors lie behind those behaviors that the students have in order to address them and properly be able to take care of them. As well as it is important to know that your students are mentally healthy because it does impact their decision making. Self-esteem and development of emotional health. So within this subcontent, it talked about learning disabilities, ADHD, the impact on self-esteem, values, and patterns of decision making. So as we all know, self-esteem is a little bit of both, from self-confidence to self-respect. It is the feeling that one is capable of coping with life's challenges and is worthy of happiness. Conditions that may develop high self-esteem are connectiveness, uniqueness, power, and models that are within the classroom, that are applied within the classroom. Behavior and expression of emotions. So there is a connection between a child's behavior and the way that they express themselves. It reflects their mental health and their self-esteem. Obviously, a child, a student who may have underrooting self-esteem issues, they might lash out in the classroom. They might not be paying much attention. They have a lot going on in their mind. And a really good activity would be a painting activity, such as the book does describe. Is this painting activity will help them express themselves accurately. So within this painting activity, it is 30 minutes long, and the students are free to paint whatever they wish. Something that I added here was that they'll be listening to Bob Ross as they're painting. Bob Ross is really relaxing. His voice can be really relaxing to students. I know I feel relaxed when I'm watching Bob Ross. And they may even have a burst of creativity. So this will be a form of expression and distress as a de-stressing activity. Some supplies that you may need are paint, brushes, white sheets, and, well, just presenting the Bob Ross video. It's as simple as it gets. Okay, and here's a video from Bob Ross. I'm sure many of you are very familiar, or teacher, Dr. Martinez, you're probably familiar with Bob Ross. But I will just
Grammarly can help you write quickly and confidently, so you never have to slow
very
down
briefly,
at work. Instant corrections make your
just so
writing
we can get an
mistake-free.
idea.
There. See, the blue is so much stronger than that crimson. Boy, it'll eat it up if you're not careful. Maybe a little bit right in here. Now, when you do your painting, if you don't want all these colors in the sky, just leave them out. You can make any kind of sky that you want. Just want to show you how to make a beautiful, bright little painting. We'll take some phthalo blue and a touch,
So, yes, as we all know, that is the Bob Ross, the famous Bob Ross. And I like how he says little motivational things here and there. I chose this one because he talks about how to be stress-free, how to just be in peace. So it's related to the activity. So LD, better known as the learning disability, is a neurological disorder that affects a child's ability to receive, process, store, and respond to information. And it may be surprising, but this does exclude mental retardation, autism, behavioral disorders, and or laziness. So this is just a chart of the following disabilities and related symptoms, such as dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, dysgraphia, auditory processing disorder, visual processing disorder, and there are just charts of where they may have some difficulties, what are the symptoms, how to point them out, what are examples of what they could have difficulty with, such as, let's say, dyslexia. Then they might have words or numbers, letters, anything written or pronounced backwards. Okay, so ADHD, or better known as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, typo there, my apologies. Children who have the disorder cannot stay focused on a task or activity, demonstrate impulsive behavior, and experience difficulty with finishing a task. So some of these you may see a student who is not able to focus correctly. They may have a low self-esteem. It varies, but you are able to tell the difference. I did attach a video here where you can see the difference between each child. For example, it's a very famous video if you haven't seen it yet, but it is between a child who has ADHD and a child who doesn't. So I'll just forward it just a little bit.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Why do you like school?
Because I like to play with my friends at recess.
Why don't you like school?
Because I have to do a lot of stuff and my little sister's really cute and I want to spend more time with my little sister.
How long does it take you to do your homework? A long time or a short time?
Maybe 5 or 10 minutes. I don't know, sort of in the middle.
So there is a difference here. Obviously, within the little boy, he was able to answer accordingly. He was able to focus. With the little girl, you can see that she's tense, she's unsure, she has a low self-esteem, she's looking around, you know that she's not really focused. So that would be an example of ADHD. Okay, so these are some recommendations for those who are dealing with children who have disabilities, even, you know, students in the classroom. You may want to be empathetic. You want to communicate with respect. Don't really interrupt them. Really listen to them and engage with them. You want to give them your full attention. You want to emphasize their strengths. You want to give them the time to solve problems and make decisions. And definitely with discipline, it will humiliate them. So it takes a lot of patience to deal with these kinds of students with disabilities. So values and decision making, when it comes to its relation to mental health, the decisions that they do make does impact their self-esteem. So they go hand in hand. Let's say a child who has a very low self-esteem will probably make poor decisions. Their actions does follow with their values as well. And teaching children about how to deal with stress can impact their mental state. So just teaching them how to deal with it appropriately will really help them in the long run on how to deal with stress. Okay, behavior and the expression of emotions. Behavior is centered around fulfilling basic emotional needs. A child is considered more emotionally healthy when emotions are exhibited in a positive way and with an intensity proportion to the situation's impact. So, in term, it just basically means that behavior is like in connection to what their emotional needs are. If you're not giving the child the appropriate attention, they might show it in their behavior. They might lash out, which in terms goes back to an unhealthy mental state. And here's just a little activity on how they may express their behavior in a healthy way. It's an activity called Dress to Express. And students of all ages, great for elementary students, will wear the color of shirt that they best represent on how they're feeling. They will write a short paragraph about their color they chose and why. So, for example, this student, he wore yellow and he's smiling, he's happy, and the teacher will probably just instruct him to sit and just write a little paragraph about how he's feeling today, why he chose that color. And here's just a little video. I will just play it very shortly, just so I can show
Dress to Express, St. Andrew style.
Jerusalem, ikayalami, ilondoloza.
So as you can see, there were different children who were wearing several different shirts. And even dance is a great way to express themselves in a positive manner. Okay, and there are defense mechanisms as well. Some defense mechanisms are shown to avoid confronting a situation or problem. So it may be compensation, daydreaming, displacement, idealization, identification, projection, regression, repression, sublimation. So when a student is dealing with a difficult time and they use that defense mechanism, they will, I'm going to give the example of daydreaming. They'll begin to daydream. They'll kind of like use that to take themselves out of the situation. It's a form of defense to them. So it just depends what the child is going through or what has he or she gone through. Okay, so there are major psychiatric disorders such as serious illnesses that affect children for years. There are a few, but I will mention that in the next slide. In order to know whether a child or a student has a disorder, they must be evaluated by a professional. Also, some signs that are ignored can lead to severe mental health issues in the future. And these are the following psychiatric disorders: obsessive compulsive disorder, panic disorder, and depression. So now we're moving on to suicide. Suicide in children and adolescents. There have been 4,000 deaths each year within the ages of 15 to 24. In 2005, 16.9% of high school students reported they considered attempting suicide. And it is the 5th leading cause of death between ages 5 to 14 years old. Okay. Indicators of child depression may include lack of interest, change in appetite, changes in sleep pattern, loss of energy. So if you are seeing a student who is just, they're not into it, they're acting different, they're not acting their normal selves, they don't have that energy, they're not able to concentrate, there is a chance for depression, although you don't want to jump into conclusions. It is just some indicators. So it is important to keep a close eye on your students. Factors of mental health include latchkey children, divorce and separation, bullying, and death. So these, of course, can alter the mental health of a child or a student. You might have seen it firsthand. A person who doesn't have a home, maybe they're dealing with family at home who are parents that are having a divorce, maybe they're being bullied, or maybe they're going through a death of a family member. So those are some of the things that can affect a student's mental health. And these are such as some healthy rules for a student, even family. This is important so that way they can develop a healthy mindset. And I'll just name a few, taking care of yourself, finding time to relax, exercise, eating well, letting go of the past, be respectful, talk positively about yourself and about others. Now that's a big one. Remove yourself from hurtful or damaging situations and have a plan for the future. And a role for a teacher. These are just little terms or little examples of how you can build a relationship, how you can build the students up, is just learning their names. You don't want to call one of your students Pedro and his name is David. So yes, you do want to learn their names, otherwise it may be hurtful if you don't. You want to be enthusiastic, you want to follow the appropriate routines, being firm, fair, and friendly, the 3 F's. Consistency, avoiding sarcasm. Sarcasm can be hurtful. Avoiding criticism. Having a non-judgmental classroom is the best kind of classroom you can have for a student. That way they have the freedom to speak to you when they want, but also setting boundaries as well. It's just that way they're able to express themselves better. And encouragement, of course. So this is the activity, another activity. Students may write their goals in the future, small or big. This will show perspective of how small issues can be. So it just kind of takes it takes the students the time to really think about what they're going to do in the future. It changes their mindset from the now to then. They're able to temporarily forget about their issues that are happening now, and they'll realize that they don't last forever, of course. Okay. So the role of the family in developing emotional health. So it is important for families to assist in the mental health of their children. It may include love, acceptance, support from others that will contribute to their self-worth. Communicating effectively in how they communicate to their child can impact their health and their development. So there's a correlation to stress and mental health. Stress is basically a response from an unpleasant event. A stress response will be a stressor. Stressors are equal to a negative event. So anything that happens will cause that stressor. Stress cannot be avoided, but what you can control is how you respond to it. Some things that cause stress is poverty, crowding, exposure to drugs, abuse, violence, etc. So this is the GAS, General Adaptation Syndrome, the first step. This is just basically what happens. So the stressor, perception of the stressor, it's like a little alarm that goes off. It's a slight drop in homeostasis, the mind and body temporarily lose balance. Then the second step is a resistance, which is the resources immobilized to combat stressor, and the current system comes into play. Step 3, exhaustion, which is energy stores depleted. Step 4, restoration of homeostasis. And obviously, if it drops down, it's too traumatic, it causes death. So, yes. So, effects of chronic stress: frequent headaches, sighing, diarrhea, constipation, nausea, faintness, hair twirling, clenched fists, nervous cough, rocking, depression, anger, and the effects continue. There's just ongoing, just some things to watch out for in students. And these are some ways on how to deal with stress. I'll click on the first one. We'll watch it very briefly.
One little piece of paper can have a remarkable effect. Stress is stressful. But if you understand a bit about what it is, you'll be better able to deal with it. First though, take a few deep breaths. In fact, do that anytime you feel stressed. It helps. Stress is a survival mechanism. When danger appears, it can get you out of trouble quickly. Your body crashes up the gears and throws all its resources into getting you moving. Your heart pumps furiously to increase blood pressure, glucose is sent to the muscles as a fuel injection, and you become totally focused on what psychologists call fight or flight. Thing is, this emergency state is only meant to last just long enough to get you out of danger. But here in the 21st century, we stress about different things, and for much, much longer. Your brain and body stay on red alert, and you'll be less able to think clearly, learn, or remember things. Take a few more deep breaths, because as you now know, stress is a physical reaction, and deep breathing helps to counteract its effects. So, what else can you do? Okay? Top tips to reduce stress. First, get plenty of exercise. Let out all that locked up energy. Now, back to the problem. Get in control. Scope out the situation and how you're going to tackle it. Don't stress alone. Talk to someone. Socialize. And have a laugh. You can't laugh and quake with fear at the same time.
So, I'll just stop it there because I think that's the last one. But I'll go back to the next one would just be just a Japanese technique. Your pressure points on your hands. One of them is for anger. I can't remember the others, but it deals with pressure points and how to do things with your hands, I guess. Okay, so this is a de-stressing activity. Students will watch a yoga video and learn new yoga poses while listening to relaxing music in order to de-stress. And this would be the video that I would show the students. It's a little long, but
Here from My Yoga Studio, and thank you for joining our fun Yoga for Kids practice today. We welcome kids of all ages. What sound does an owl make? Ooh, ooh. Giving our necks a nice stretch. Good job, Christian and Nova, giving your neck a nice stretch. Looking over one shoulder and then the other shoulder. All right, coming back to center. And let's stretch those legs out and shake everything out. Give it everything a shake, 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 shake. And we're gonna warm up our bodies. Start wiggling your toes. Wiggle those toes, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And
So she does a bunch of cool things with the students in order to motivate them, relax them, shake it off, as she said. It's great for the students. I think this would be a great opportunity to teach them on how to de-stress. So in conclusion, each activity presented in this PowerPoint are completely relevant to the age of students targeted in the elementary aspect. Elementary learners are in the age where simplicity and enthusiasm is key. So we don't want to make anything too difficult, otherwise they might get even more stressed. So just keeping it simple, mellow, and straight to the point, and also motivate them. So these activities do match with the NHES standards perfectly in order to prevent disease, influence health behaviors, reduce health risk, active communication skills, decision-making skills, goal setting, and enhance behavior in the classroom. Okay, and that will conclude my PowerPoint. These are the following sources. And I want to thank you, Dr. Martinez, for watching. Anyone else who saw, thank you so much. And it was a pleasure taking your course.